Good evening, viewers, listeners, and welcome again to Community Forum. I'm your host, Byron Campbell, and my co-host, Chris Diali. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Brian, and welcome to our viewers and listeners. Again, we're happy to be here in another Community Forum to have a little chit-chat about certain things.
Yes, and I want to say to our viewers that we have a very special guest this evening. Should we tell them, Chris?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
we have
Special.
Dr. Nicole Phillip Dowe. She's the head of site Grenada of the UWI Global Campus, Grenada, of course. Then we have a lot to talk about with her when she comes on in a few minutes. But Chris, another week, very fast, the heat, but we have some good news. We have a weather system approaching, most likely tomorrow, showers. Hey, that's a big deal for us.
Yeah, we're missing the rain. I mean, some parts of the country been getting rain. The deep south and St. George's area haven't seen much at all. Yeah. So I think it's something that we're looking forward to.
We need this. Yeah. But the implications, because we've had such a bad season, I would say, from an agricultural production point of view, a lot of particularly ground provisions, like yams, like edos, like tanya, you're going to have small production. But let me stop here. Let's go for a short break, Chris. Viewers, please stay with us. We're going to be right back. We'll take a word from our sponsors.
Community Forum comes to you in association with the Grenada Development Bank.
The choice to finance your education is clear. Try the Grenada Development Bank Won't You Dare. Our special student loan was designed with care for your growth, development, and welfare. This is how champions are made. Take on that challenge. Don't ever be afraid. Our special student loan will come to your aid with 100% of your study costs being paid. Vulnerability is but a temporary condition, and conquering it is strictly ambition. You can secure victory despite your position with a loan for accommodation, books, and tuition. We see your potential. We notice your drive. So on your marks, get set. Let your dreams come alive. Don't let hurdles of doubt get in your way, because you are the future. Contact GDB today. Our special student loan is just one application away. Grenada Development Bank. Development through financing.
Welcome back, viewers. Community Forum here with Chris. Chris, before the break, we were talking about the weather. Happy about it, but I just want to say that expect issues with food downstream, particularly with ground provisions. It might be potatoes or tanya or dasheen or all of those, because the limited rain farmers have been receiving. Certainly, lettuce and other of these crops, they're going to be in short supply in the near future or right now.
Well, Byron, I think it begs the question, as we have said before on this program, that farmers need to come away from depending so much on the weather and get into production in greenhouses, especially for things like lettuce and carrots and sweet peppers and so on. I understand the issue with the ground provisions, and you can't do much about that from a weather point of view and what is happening and so forth. So that is another challenge. But I think we need to get more science into the agriculture and the production, and see how we could at least deal with the issue of weather and the uncertainties.
Financing is certainly going to be an issue. But Chris, staying with agriculture, it was announced that the agricultural census is about to start. Critical exercise. Why do you think it's so important?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that what I say is 20 years now we haven't done one. Yeah. So there is a need to establish the state at the sector and highlight the areas where they believe we can make changes to improve what we do. Because food security is a big issue, and we talk a lot about it, but I suppose we don't have the information base to decide on the strategic approach where we want to go.
Can't plan without data.
Right, and gets the monies into the real pointed areas that need assistance. So for example, Byron, I mean, I heard a conversation about the season open for hunting and the monkey issue, and the killing of monkeys for
the Mona monkey.
But I think the real issue is the parrots. And we should engage in some sort of system to do some culling of the parrots, because the parrots are really destructive when it comes to things like oranges and citrus and golden apples and so on. They're really, and they move in flocks. So that is something.
No natural predators, so it means that
yes.
there's no control on the population.
So
it is something for us to look at. Chris, we've had, I think it was last week, climate change, the CARICOM countries met in Grenada. Preliminary planning for COP28, dealing with adaptation, mitigation issues, and also financing, and also dealing with issues of loss and damage compensation. What was clear there's a non-delivery of commitments, billions of dollars is not coming, promises that were made since the Paris Agreement. But what was interesting, there was a remarks by our Prime Minister referencing the state of our beaches. Particularly, he referenced the northeastern beaches in particular, the state of affairs there. You have rocks, you have no beaches, but he was alluding that this is due to climate change matters. But I want to differ here, to say that the state of our beaches, whether you're looking at Grand Mall Beach, Bush Issue Beach, Pearls, Moya, Conference, Bush Issue, all these beaches were destroyed through our own action. Sand mining, Chris. Over the years, I was personally involved over the years, in the 80s, the 90s, articulating, advocating for cessation of sand mining. And that's the results we have. We destroyed our own beaches, so we can't be seeking compensation for our own action, destruction.
Well, I would agree with you that we have been a party to it, but I know sea level rises has not helped as well.
No.
And sea level rises could be linked to climate change, obviously. And that has caused issues. I know in Petit Martinique, for example, losing our coastlines and some beaches as well. So what we knew as beaches weren't there anymore because the sand is all taken by the increase in sea level rise. But I think the bigger problem is, yes, we have beaches, we are tourism destinations, so we need to do some level of protection in that. But when we spoke about the MAPs, there's another issue that we need to look at. And of course, the warming of our waters and the bleaching of our corals, which would deal with the fisheries issue and what happens there, and what happens when you have dead corals. There's no real buffer to tides and what happens there. So, I mean, there's a lot happening in climate change, and I suspect our beaches are, as you say, with sand mining part of it.
And it is still being carried out in many areas illegally. My information, in the conference area, you still have illegal sand mining. So this is something that we need to police and protect, I agree with you, but we are the biggest culprit for the own destruction of our beaches. Chris, I was listening to Anselm Clouden the other day. He's a member of the Cannabis Commission, making recommendations to the government. He made a trip to St. Vincent, and he was reporting on the state of affairs there with the cannabis industry. And he had photographs and pictures. And he was making a significant point about the state of affairs there in terms of where St. Vincent is, in terms of cashing in on this industry, particularly the medicinal aspect of it, and was expressed concern that our initiative here is, in other words, he's concerned about we getting left behind. In other words, it's not happening fast enough. Is there any? Are you aware of any action in this area?
No.
What is reported?
As far as I'm concerned, I think we got left behind already. I think we're taking too long to come up with a plan. We have a committee with chairman and members on the committee, and I believe Anselm will be part of the committee, I'm not sure. But nothing seems to be coming out of the committee. We've been talking now more than a year about this thing, and nothing seems, concrete has come out of the committee in terms of saying this is the plans, this is where they want to go, this is how the approach is going to be, this is how the laws have to be changed to accommodate, and so on and so forth. So you're not hearing anything about it. So I suspect that's why people are getting tired. And
there was a mention in the throne speech, not in terms of any action, just to say that the committee exists.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, you can have a committee that whether you're working on another issue.
So I think that is something that the housing situation has been coming up for some discussion in the last week, Chris. I think of particular was the announcement by the Housing Authority that persons have been awarded, the applicants, who they are, and but one of the issues that what I heard the chairman saying, in fact, that, for example, the lease cost is the 55,000, the one bedroom, second bedroom is 73,000. But what he was saying, he was making a point: come with cash, or come with a mortgage. But the concern here would have been what is the capacity of these persons, assuming they are low-income persons, how it's targeted to them, their ability to raise a mortgage, and the type of mortgage for condominiums. What is the law say about that? But I think most important, their ability to raise a loan.
Well, Byron, I heard that there's 600 plus houses available for distribution at the various price ranges.
Yeah.
My thing is that I understand where the chairman is coming from, because the recent history Housing Authority have with different areas where they have given houses out, people are not paying their rent or their whatever it is to recover.
Yeah.
And Housing Authority have a serious receivable problem in terms of collections for the properties that they have given to individuals who have that. So I can understand the chairman saying, listen, we have a bad history, people don't want to pay, they think they have a right to this house, and at the end of the day they must just take it free of cost, and nothing comes in the housing sector free of cost. You have to.
There's a cost.
How they could raise the money, I suppose, is a challenge, and that's why he said come with the cash. If you go to the bank to get a mortgage to pay for it, obviously you have to find some way to tell the bank where you're paying them back if you have to raise the mortgage, what you're doing, how you're doing it. And I suspect that is where that is coming from. And the discussions, of course, is that come with your cash, whether you come with it in dollars and cents or you come with it through
But
the
how
bank.
feasible is this? That's the point.
Well, I mean, at the end of the
because
day,
you're targeting low-income persons in the
Correct.
first place. You assume they don't have a mortgage, they don't have lands, because they haven't been able to raise a mortgage before.
yeah, well, I'm saying there will be that issue, but you see, we bring these problems on ourselves.
Yeah.
By not paying Housing Authority all this money in huge debt,
Yeah.
now they will take this kind of direction.
Yeah.
We are our own, what it was here, we are our own people that doing our own wrong things and expecting to just continue as normal. So at the end of the day, I think, yes, we have these houses, yes, they are available for people who need it, but we have to find a way. Even though you come and you go to Housing Authority and you sign up an agreement with them, $500 a month, come on. You don't have no land, you don't have no security.
Chris, I thought the statement was a bit harsh. I didn't see I didn't see compassion there. It was like, come with your money, cash, or come with a mortgage. That's the only way. You have 3 months.
Yeah.
It was not. I didn't feel an engagement. Chris,
we
dialogue.
have engaged before without no success.
Yeah, but
So that's
why
what
didn't
has
work?
happened.
But why didn't work?
That's
What is
the
the
point.
solution?
Some of us-
That's why I'm asking for an engagement, a dialogue. Because when I applied, assuming when I applied, I didn't know those conditions.
No. When in the previous, when you go to Housing Authority and you get a house, you're given a document to the agreement, what the monthly thing is, and you sign on
Right.
wide up open.
Right.
And you'll hear the stories coming from HAG that people would have signed on and never made one payment since they moved into the house.
I
So
understand
come on.
that point. The point I'm making, though, is that the present crop of persons, the present group of persons that applied and received approval, they didn't know the conditions when they applied. They didn't know they need to raise a mortgage or they come up with 55,000 or 73,000 upfront before they can move in. That's the point.
Well, again, I keep saying, I hear you, but at the end of the day, we are our own bad
Okay.
thing to
fine.
this situation.
I'm not going to win you on this one, Chris. We're going to move on. Viewers, please stay with us. We'll be right back. And as I told you, we'll be back with our special guest, Dr. Nicole Phillip Dowe. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
The choice to finance your education is clear. Try the Grenada Development Bank Won't You Dare. Our special student loan was designed with care for your growth, development, and welfare. This is how champions are made. Take on that challenge. Don't ever be afraid. Our special student loan will come to your aid with 100% of your study costs being paid. Vulnerability is but a temporary condition, and conquering it is strictly ambition. You can secure victory despite your position with a loan for accommodation, books, and tuition. We see your potential. We notice your drive. So on your marks, get set. Let your dreams come alive. Don't let hurdles of doubt get in in your way because you are the future. Contact GDB today. Our special student loan is just one application away. Grenada Development Bank. Development through financing.
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you're an athlete or work in an environment that requires regular drug screening.
Interested in STI screening? What about renal, liver, or thyroid tests?
All these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
At Allied Laboratories, we are committed to providing the best service with accurate results. We now have 3 fully equipped locations to better serve you. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488. You can contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488. Or you can contact our newest addition, the Guelph branch, at 404-3488. Or send us an email.
We're taking care of Grenada.
Welcome back to Community Forum. As we announced earlier, our special guest this evening is Dr. Nicole Phillip. So I'm going to give you a short bio of Ms. Phillip and to tell you what she has done. Dr. Phillip has served in the field of education for the last 27 years.
Wow.
That's a lot of time, almost my half of my life. She has served as a teacher at St. Joseph Convent, St. George, and as a senior lecturer and dean of the School of Arts, Science, and Professional Studies at T.A. Marisho Community College. She is the head of Site Grenada of the University of the West Indies Global Campus, Grenada. Dr. Phillip holds a PhD in history from the University of the West Indies. She has authorized, co-authored, and co-edited 6 books, including Women in Grenadian History, 1783 to 1983, Perspectives on the Grenada Revolution, 1783, Caribbean Social Studies, Book 2 and 3, and Collins History for Trinidad and Tobago, Forms 1, 2, and 3, and Collins Junior History of Grenada 2023. Dr. Phillip has extended her expertise in Grenadian and Caribbean history to the BBC documentary Grenada, Confronting the Past, aired in May 2022, and to the genealogical series Who Do You Think You Are, featuring film stars like Noel Clarke and Naomi Harris. Dr. Phillip is the Deputy Chair of the Grenada National Reparations Commission. She provides community service by giving lectures and talks on history and culture. She is an academic, author, mother, and active member of a church community. Doc, good evening.
Good evening.
And welcome to Community Forum.
Thank you.
Our own homegrown, author. And we have, 6 books here, spanning the Caribbean and talking about our history, so historian par excellence. Yeah. So, Doc, your latest book is what is the title of your latest book?
Collins Junior History of Grenada.
Okay, and tell us about it.
The need for a textbook has been around for quite some time. Students, particularly in the first 2 years of secondary school, yes, they get to the CXC syllabus. They start going in there by Form 3, and Form 4 and 5, of course, they're getting ready to write the final exam. So a student could leave school without knowing anything about being Grenadian. So it's been around, the talk about it has been around for the last 20 years, but we finally zeroed down within the last 3 years actually getting a text. I would have worked with Collins before on the social studies text, and the way that it's put across, it's very engaging, it's very student friendly, and they were very willing to do one for Grenada. The writing was enjoyable and stressful at the same time, but it was absolutely necessary that it be done.
You know, when I was a young man in school doing history, I did very, very little history about Grenada. I know all about North America, I know all about, English history and all of that, and very little discussions about what happened in Grenada.
Yes.
You knew very little about people like T.A. Marishu.
Right.
We knew very little about Fedor.
Right.
We heard things about them, but no factual information. So I think this is an excellent thing that you are doing here, getting our young people to understand. And we have a colorful, rich, and sometimes violent history.
Yes,
so it is good for them to understand that.
It is.
Yeah.
I think it's unfair to them that we keep things from them, that we don't tell them all of it. It's their story as well.
Mhm.
It's the story of their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents.
That's
And they
absolutely.
need to know what happened, how it happened, why it happened, and to ask questions
Yeah.
of us,
Mm.
you know.
And they say that if you don't know your history, you're
Doomed to
destined.
repeat it.
It's true.
Exactly.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Exactly.
So it's important.
Yeah. You're looking at me, Chris.
Yeah, go ahead, Byron. I'm giving you a chance to question Doc.
I'm going to come back to the book, Doc, but before I go to the book, in 2011, you were named one of UWE's 50 distinguished alumni in the 50th anniversary celebration. You were one of only 3 graduates to be so recognized by the selection committee in the last 20 years. I mean, this is amazing, Chris, you know. But in your acceptance speech, you give credit to your family. You went on to say that the recognition will strengthen your resolve to contribute to the academic, social, and cultural upliftment of Caribbean young people. But what was interesting here, you said particularly girls. Congratulations, Doc. Yeah, I want to say congratulations. But firstly, why the emphasis on girls? And I'm asking that question in the context of we have the marginalization of young men,
Yes.
you know, but you made an emphasis on girls. So I'd like you to tell us why you chose that emphasis then. Of course, this is 12, 15, 13 years
Years
ago.
ago.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
yes.
is it still relevant? Or would you say the same thing now, or would you want to change to answer the, yeah, you go.
Yes, it was quite some time ago.
Yes.
And it would have been coming out a lot from writing women in Grenadian history.
Yeah.
And looking at the role of
Yeah.
women in
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah.
things that was not done is highlighting the role of women in Caribbean history, especially in the smaller islands. So you would find it Jamaica, Trinidad, and so, but for the smaller islands, it was not done. So talking about women's role, the importance that they played as part of the history, I sometimes say his story and her story,
Yeah.
but it's a combination of both of them to make a nation story. And the
Yeah.
fact that we weren't talking about
Yeah.
it was necessary. Fast forward now, we have put a lot of emphasis on girls and the education of girls. And it comes from a history of women being marginalized. The time we live in now, we're finding a situation of boys falling on the sidelines. And it's an issue. We see it at UWI. When we look at our student numbers, the majority women
All over we see
as
it.
opposed to men.
Yeah.
And it's not just Grenada, it's regional. And it's an issue that we have to attend to. We must attend to it because we're going to end up with an imbalance of females above males, and we want a level playing field. All right, you want your daughters to be able to find good husbands somewhere along the way who would be on the same level as they are. That's what you're looking for, and I'm talking from a mommy's perspective here. But you also want both sexes to be able to contribute to their society. And it cannot be a situation where the men are relaxing and the women are the one pushing forward. One of the points that I recognize is, from a historical perspective, men had the advantage. And then we tried shifting so that women could have the advantage. I think what would have happened, and this is my own observation, is that a sort of relaxing on the part of the males. Okay, we got this, so it's okay, and not pushing as much forward as they should. So when it came to education, for example, were the boys pushing as much? That's a question we need to ask. Why is it that when we look at the primary school, there seem to be the numbers are equal. But once they enter secondary school, it's the boys that are falling off and not the girls. So these are some of the questions you have to ask. Why is this happening? Why are the boys falling off?
Is co-ed one of those issues? Because it seemed that well, I picked this up somewhere in that where you have where you have a separation, where you have
All girls.
All boys,
the
all
boys
boys.
perform better. Is
As
that
opposed
to
I-
co-ed?
no,
Is co-ed
I don't
because
think
some
so.
refer to the feminization of teaching in the Caribbean is responsible for the marginalization of males.
males.
You know?
I wouldn't say that.
And also you have the
Yes.
majority of teachers are females
Yes, that
also.
is true.
So males have we are no longer in the teaching profession. We are on the hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Chris,
you know, I share some unfortunate views of these things because I hear Doc and I hear you, Byron, and I just figure that when I went to school was co-ed,
Yes.
right? I all
Never
my
been to a
primary
co-ed.
was co-ed,
yeah.
and then when I went to secondary school and I went to PBC, it was all boys.
All boys, right.
Even at one time in PBC, we had girls in Form 6 and so on,
Yeah.
coming from convent to do certain sciences and so on. So I never got, and then of course, IFE TMCC in the days was all co-ed. I saw no issue with co-ed in terms of, as a matter of fact, I thought it was advantageous because you got to mix with the other side of the other sex and get to understand women from that point of view.
But the
and how-
results are the
and
results.
how you know. So I don't know, and I hear Doc about the women. I mean, I think women in the past, I always refer to my mom. I think they were fantastic in what they did and how they
Yeah.
did. Some of them are geniuses to operate in that
Yeah.
environment and still come out
Exactly.
Yeah.
where they came out.
Yes.
Yeah.
You understand? So when you look at the historical perspective of our women in the 1950s, when Gary came and what was happening on the plantations and so on, our women are seriously marginalized. Those
Yes.
of us who had, my mother never saw school on a Friday because she had to pick up nutmeg.
Right.
Right? But yet still, she was literate, she knew how to read, she was
My elder
numerate.
sisters never went to secondary school.
Right.
It's considered
It was
unnecessary.
not
Unnecessary.
necessary. Yes,
Correct.
it was not necessary.
And that's
for
the
them.
point I'm
I did.
making, and our
Yeah.
women broke that ceiling,
That's
and now
correct.
they fully, but the men and how they have dropped back. And I don't know, as Doc said, they probably felt, well, we have this, no need. And if the women want to do it, let them go, and now we marginalize.
Yes.
So I don't know what it is.
Doc, I wanna move a little deeper into your latest work, Junior History of Grenada. Look, Chris, this is a masterpiece because I had the opportunity of reviewing it.
Okay.
I had
Straight
the
up for the
opportunity.
camera,
I had the opportunity of
Doc
reviewing
need
it.
to get saved.
It should be compulsory for all students. Yeah. It got my attention. What got my attention was the layout, Chris, the workbook, the case studies, the research work for, in other words, the part of the research work, for example, the student could go in the community, interview someone on the revolution that lived the revolution, and then write on the pros and cons, the negative, the positive about it. My question is, though, what orientation or instructions that are available for the teachers? Of course, within the book you have how to use it, but
Yes.
I think there should be, are there additional information like a teacher's guide specifically to go with this?
for the text.
Because this is so, Chris, you have to look at this. This is,
I tend to get one of Doc autograph it for me.
that is a bit of my concern.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
and is it compulsory for all students? That's the other point. And is it going to be available electronically? I mean, given where we're going
Where we're
with
going.
paper. Yeah.
Okay, so the first point is that it's now compulsory, Form 1 and 2,
Yeah.
as of September, as of this year, this term. The teachers, we would have met with the teachers, myself and the ministry officials, and we did have a workshop with them, introduced the book to them. The curriculum has been built by the ministry alongside the textbook, so they know how to approach it. That has been given to the teachers, so they do have some assistance. The publishers, they have also set up some online help for teachers. So for example, when you looked through, you saw that there were questions. One of the things that I had to do was to give the answers to the questions, the very obvious ones. And then, for example, if there's a research question,
Yeah.
what are you looking for? What should the teacher be looking for when the student has now presented their research? So they have some of that to
Yeah.
help, and that is online
Yeah.
for the teachers.
Awesome. Okay. So
Yes.
I was thinking about that aspect of it, Chris. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, I know there's a school in Grenada that is almost totally digital. Students have their iPad, homework is given
Yes.
that way, and they submit and so
Mhm.
on.
Mhm.
And that's where we have to go. So
Yeah.
having this online is going
Yeah.
to facilitate that kind of
Yeah.
of teacher. But
Yeah.
Doc, I always believe here, the biggest challenge is our teachers. Because what I see happening in education and the methodology in how we teach is going to change so fast and so revolutionary that our teachers' mind have to be wide to understand. It's no longer going to be text, it's going to be all in the digital world, and with AI coming, the challenge is going to be even greater.
Yes.
I know for you in UE, and how they're going to adjust with the AI challenge is
Yeah.
going to be something, because universities all over the world are having a problem with it.
Yes, they are. Excuse me.
Yeah. For example,
Sorry.
plagiarism.
Is an issue. Major.
Issue. Well, okay, while that, well, one of the things I found out, Chris, when you read this book, before we take the break, there's one fact I want to pull out from the book.
And
That
then we come back
and
to
did you
what
know
we
that?
did,
Yeah, that an African king, King Jaja, visited Grenada in 1888. The Governor General at the time, Governor Sandal, that Sandal Tunnel, Sandal, did not allow him to land, because he was concerned about the black population and the influence King Jaja is going to have. So he didn't allow him to land from the boat. He was sent back. What are the facts? When we come back, I'll give you some other facts.
Yeah.
Viewers, please stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay.
The choice to finance your education is clear. Try the Grenada Development Bank Won't You Dare. Our special student loan was designed with care for your growth, development, and welfare. This is how champions are made. Take on that challenge. Don't ever be afraid. Our special student loan will come to your aid with 100% of your study costs being paid. Vulnerability is but a temporary condition, and conquering it is strictly ambition. You can secure victory despite your position with a loan for accommodation, books, and tuition. We see your potential. We notice your drive. So on your marks, get set. Let your dreams come alive. Don't let hurdles of doubt get in your way, because you are the future. Contact GDB today. Our special student loan is just one application away. Grenada Development Bank. Development through financing.
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you're an athlete or work in an environment that requires regular drug screening.
Interested in STI screening? What about renal, liver, or thyroid tests?
All these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
At Allied Laboratories, we are committed to providing the best service with accurate results. We now have 3 fully equipped locations to better serve you. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488. You can contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488. Or you can contact our newest addition, the Guelph branch, at 404-3488. Or send us an email.
We're taking care of Grenada.
Welcome back, viewers. We're here with Dr. Nicole Phillip Dowe. Doc, Unit 6 of the junior history. You headed a section of the chapter as the US-led invasion intervention of Grenada. My first question is, why both invasion and intervention at the same time? The Americans talk about an invasion, of course. To the best of my knowledge, an invasion is a military offensive of combatants of one geopolitical entity entering a territory controlled by a sovereign entity with the objective of either conquering, liberating, or altering the established government. And usually there's some strategic planning about it.
Right.
The October 25th military action of America had all the elements of a full-scale invasion. So my question, Doc, why for the records of our history did you include the term intervention together with invasion?
Right. For the record, Unit 6 was the hardest unit to write. The unit on the
It was
revolution.
interesting.
Yes,
Okay,
it
it was easiest to read.
It was the hardest to write because you're writing very recent, not just very recent history, because Unit 7 deals with right up to 2022.
Yeah.
But recent history that has so much emotion still attached and involved. So many people with unresolved issues, unresolved feelings with regards to the revolution. So it was the chapter that you had to show the good, the bad, and the ugly, all the sides of the coin. And invasion has been used to describe it. Intervention has been used to describe it. So I was very clear that there are two words that you will hear. So for the student who is going to ask questions, they're going to get the word invasion, and they're going to get the word intervention. So at the end of the day, they will decide which one they think makes sense based on the people that they would interview and the questions that they would ask. But my job was to show both sides. This is what you're going to hear.
Memory serves me right.
The
Caribbean countries.
Can I respond to
No, give me. Caribbean countries call it intervention. The U.S. call it an invasion. You are aware of that?
But I mean, but
Respond.
So Doc, you're trying to appease certain persons here.
All sides of the coin.
All sides of the coin. But this is history. Remember, this is the record. This is the facts here.
Yes.
And I just outlined the facts to
Yes.
you that what constitutes an invasion, and clearly the evidence,
Yes.
the facts, the evidence, account of the eyewitness. You know, I was there too. You know,
But what is the
clearly
difference between an intervention and an
invasion.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when you look at what has been written so far, you have both terms used. And the term intervention seems to suggest that it's something that was needed, something that was wanted, something that was requested by Grenada. The term invasion seems to suggest it's military action for Grenada, in Grenada's best interest, but not necessarily getting the support of Grenadians. So you have both sides of that shown. You have the demonstrations that would have taken place outside the United Nations, saying that this should not happen. You have conflict within the American Congress as to whether this should or should not happen. British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, her views as to whether it should and shouldn't. So you're trying to show everyone's view of that situation.
You had Eugenia Charles at the time.
You had Eugenia Charles at the time.
You requested it.
Requesting.
On behalf of the Caribbean.
She had no authority to
No, but she
request.
requesting.
She could
So you-
request.
Yeah.
There is
I mean,
just
that-
a whole lot of different,
Yeah.
different views.
So
on
it was a difficult task for you.
It
You said
was,
it was
it
a
was.
difficult task. So
It
you chose the easy way. I'll just
show everything.
I think that's the best way. Show everything. Let it
Throw everything. Throw everything.
I mean,
would have your biases.
I'm not going to use the word intervention. I will not
But
use
you
the
will
word
have your
intervention.
biases.
You know,
It's
there's
not a bias, it's a fact.
There's another one, it's,
Yeah.
a student of mine
Yeah.
called it intervasion.
But you've been active, Doc, on the reparation issue, of course, that you're the vice deputy chair of this, and you've gone further because you've actually you've been interfacing with one of the British ancestors of
Family.
the family, and so forth, and they even made a contribution of £100,000
Yes.
to for development issues. But there is my question has to do with the strategy. I know our Prime Minister also has been articulating this issue at the highest levels, and this is, I mean, this is a positive thing. We spoke about that last week, actually, Chester. And what are the challenges you think in achieving the goals of reparation as outlined by your committee and the Caribbean as a whole, actually?
Yes. The CARICOM does have a 10-point plan for reparations. Just last week, we had MP Clive Lewis here, who has Grenadian roots. His father is Grenadian.
Okay.
And
who is MP Clive Lewis?
MP Clive Lewis is a member of Parliament in Britain with Grenadian parents. His father is Grenadian, from St. John, actually. Okay. And he was here last week and would have been speaking about the whole issue of reparations and the fact that when a family comes out and apologizes and makes a contribution, it kind of gives you an opening within the British space to be able to speak about it and by extension call out not just other families but starting now to put pressure on the British government to make some form of reparatory justice. The difficulty with it is the powers that be, and I'm just going to put that in inverted commas, former colonial powers who still do not see it as a crime against humanity, and because they don't see it as a crime against humanity, not being willing to say we need to give some measure or some form of reparatory justice. And that means a lot of lobbying, consistent lobbying on our part to make sure that we get it. To be honest with you, I didn't think in my lifetime I would have seen some measure or form of reparatory justice for Grenada, but we have gotten there. It's a small window, but it's an opening. It's
a start.
It's a start. What you find happening is other families from other islands in the region are now asking, how can we help? Having seen what has happened with Grenada, how can we make do our part for reparatory justice as well? We have another family related to Carriacou and the Mount Pleasant estate, and they are asking as well, how can they give back in some way or form? So it's the start of the process. We're hoping it's a snowball that is going to have the ripple effect that we're looking for. But the fact is that the process has begun. It was a very bold step for the Trevelyan family to take that initiative, because the reaction could be, well, it's my family, but I mean, how many how many generations removed is not my responsibility. But to recognize that your ancestor would have done something that was not right.
My question on it is, I am in full support of reparations, because when you see what has happened in Haiti, and when you have seen what has gone on in other countries, what France have done in Africa and so on, I believe the raping of societies and the attendant issues we have had with generations after that, education, health, and all of these things, there needs to be some form of, as you say, reparatory justice involved. But the question for me is going to be, if we were to get monies and other things involved, is our governments prepared to properly administer this money to deal with the issues of diabetes and the health and issues with hypertension that we inherited from the salt meat and all of these cultural changes?
Right.
And how are we prepared? What mechanisms have we set up to ensure that our people truly feel the effect of that our generations to come now and in the future?
And in the future. And that's a very important point, because I think the first step was writing the 10-point plan. Because sometimes people hear reparations, they get excited and they think everybody gets a check. It's not that way. But you want it to go into specific areas. You want it to go into health. So you start educating people, not just about having a hospital set up and having the equipment, but in education on proper eating habits, so that we break the cycle of things like hypertension and diabetes and so on. We want debt cancellation, so that 60% of the monies that we make doesn't go towards paying debt. So if you do things like that, it gives governments in the region so much more wiggle room to focus on other things if some of these things are actually done through reparatory justice. What prime ministers have to do is to, yes, you have the 10-point plan, but to know that if money is coming for X, you have to be fully accountable that this is what it is going to be specifically used for, and that you have the ripple effect on
We
the
have
regular
a
person.
rich history that our politicians have been corrupt.
Yes.
Nice, rich history about
I
that.
know that.
And that is why, you know, when we set up the CCJ, it was set up how it was set up with little political influence and so on. Are we
Right.
going to set up a body in the similar vein, whether tripartite or very little rooms the politicians have to interfere?
But that's a good
Because
point.
we, as people, you know, we fight.
Yes.
They know to divide and conquer us.
Mm-hmm.
And you can expect that to happen if
Yeah.
reparations start to gain some momentum. So are we, through the 10-point plan or any other plan, looking at that to set up something like a CCJ that, you know, very little interference could take place?
So that's a good point. It's something that we need to look into, because we don't want a situation where you actually get monies for specific things and we're not sure what happens to it. We have to be able to get something like what you're suggesting. It seems that makes the most sense in my mind. It does.
Yeah, and I mean, we have so much things changing in our society and so fast. AI is a good example, like
Yeah.
going back to
Yes.
AI. And, you know, we need to, I haven't heard our politicians come in a full strategic plan, 5 or 10 years. We have a 10-year plan for Grenada, for where we want to go and bring our society. But AI is going to influence and be such a huge disruptor to everything that we know. My concern is with reparations, and we just talk about it in education, how are we going to prepare ourselves, this generation, the generations to come, to maximize it?
Yeah.
And that is the challenge I see.
Challenge.
That is
going
a challenge.
forward, yeah.
That is a challenge going forward.
So you have a
I
local
don't envy you
committee.
teachers.
Yeah, you have a local committee operating in Grenada.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. 2 other facts from this book, Chris, that I want to mention. And
King
you should read
Jaja?
it. One, no, King Jaja was one. The other one is the SGU is the #1 international provider of physician practicing in the USA.
I knew that one.
You knew that, you knew that
Yes.
was one. Let me
I
see
knew
if you
that
know
one.
the other one.
Yeah. You know why I know that one?
Yeah, how?
Because I'm very friendly with another dog.
Okay. Yeah. The PRG, the revolution, set up the first public transportation in Grenada. Started with 26 coaster buses. They were operating 6:30 to 10 p.m. around the island, around the major areas, and to midnight in the Granans area. Most of the conductors were women, actually. And you know who was the first chairman, the only chairman during the revolution? Yours truly.
I knew
You
that-
didn't know
I
that.
didn't know you were the
You
chairman,
didn't know that.
but I knew
You
about
didn't
the
know
boss.
that. You didn't know that.
Yeah, I know
First-
that you pick on that one.
No, but no, I was speaking.
But I knew about the boss.
You
As
knew
a matter
about
of
the
fact,
buses. Yeah, you know, I know what happened. I had a call from Bernard Court, Byron. We have buses coming, you know, short notice. And I want you to be the chairman. Set it up, organize it, make it happen.
and I won't ask you why it failed, but I
Yeah.
kinda
No,
know
it didn't fail. It didn't fail. The invasion came.
Right.
Remember, it
And
didn't fail.
ended it.
And then I was out of it at that time, obviously.
But you know, Chester is one that have suggested that
Yeah.
it will be a tragedy to
Yeah.
continue having our bus service in
Yeah.
our country only in the hands of private people.
Private people,
Yes.
yeah.
And there'll be no control. And
Control, yeah.
he introduced the idea
Yeah.
when we were in Parliament that government
Yeah.
should get some buses and public buses
Yeah.
Yeah.
and offer it to school children as a start.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then after the school children are taken care of, they could offer it to the general public.
Public,
Yeah.
yep.
Because we have a problem now. Busmen stop at 7 o'clock most times on most destinations.
And the traffic situation.
And we know
It's-
that
it's,
with transport,
Yeah.
it comes with economic
Yeah. Yeah.
advantages.
Yeah.
Once people
Exactly.
could move,
Yeah.
restaurants will open longer, people will get
It's
better
a good
pay,
thing.
business will be better.
Yes.
So it is a serious issue that we
Mhm.
have to address. And I
Yes.
hate it's hard to say this for our government.
Yeah.
It is going to be a transformative idea.
Yes. So there are other facts in the book, Chris, so when you get a copy, look at it. But one of the other writing of Dr. Phillip is this book, Women in Grenadian History, 1783 to 1983. Here you've highlighted the contribution of our women. And this is very important because we hear more about the men in our history, whether it's Gary or Fedor or Morris Bishop, but the women. How was this? I mean, what?
The motivation.
Yeah, what motivated you to do this? But this is important history also for our
200
population, And this is excellent work, Doc. I want to congratulate you on it. It means so much for women because we've been taking them for granted, you know. And here you've articulated their contribution in different spheres, not only in the economy but in politics.
Nutmeg,
Nutmeg.
golf? Was that golf? Is
Yeah,
protect
that's
golf?
probably in Gove.
I won't go there.
So, Doc, tell us about how this project came about and motivation to do this.
That is actually my PhD thesis.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yes. And the motivation came when I was in final year UWI, and we were doing women in Caribbean history. And when I started looking through, I realized there were no examples on Grenada at all.
Wow. Okay.
Except for one or two women, so Dame Hilda, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
But there really wasn't anything on Grenada. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to be doing postgraduate work, we need to do something that has not been done before. So I took the challenge to do women in Grenadian history from 1783 up to 1983. It meant going to England, using the Public Records Office. All the colonial office documents for all the former colonies are there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a historian's treasure trove.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm walking and smiling every day. What am I going to find that's new?
Yeah.
And one of the fun parts for it for me as well was interviewing women. I interviewed about 55 women, Grenada, Carriacou, and PM, about their experiences, whether it was education, whether it
Yes,
was
you have Miss
health.
Protein inside you,
Yes,
Gertrude.
yeah.
But why is history, what is it? Why is it relevant? Why is it important, Doc?
Your history is your story. That's as
Your
basic
story.
as I can put it. You have a history and you have a story, and your story is linked to your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents.
Yeah.
And the collective stories is what makes Grenada, basically, our collective stories. So if we don't know the past, we don't know our collective stories, it's difficult to make informed decisions moving forward. Why do I do the things that I do? Why do I like jab so much? Why do I love flour so much? Why do I like breadfruit and oil so much? Yeah. Why do I comb my hair in a particular manner? Why does wild meat attract me? Why do I love iguana? All of these things are linked, whether it's to our Amerindian past or African ancestry. Why do we have a parliament system that we still use, or why do we use Westminster democracy? All of these are questions that are linked to where we came from. So it's understanding this, and then reparations is a very good point, because if you understand what happened during that period of enslavement, you start to question, why did the enslaved get nothing and the planter class got all of the benefits? And how has this affected our Caribbean society? Now we have to start from scratch with nothing. So you start questioning this, and then you start asking, this was a crime against humanity. We were seen as non-human when we were in fact human. So you start asking questions, why did all the money go out, right? And if it built European society, then they now have a responsibility to help, because they would have basically taken everything and basically
The
gone
English
with it.
government gave plantocracies in them days when slavery was abolished, huge monies for the abolishment and so
They're
on.
compensated?
Yeah,
They were compensated, and we were not. So
Doc,
if
this
you
is an
don't
interesting
understand the
thing.
history, then you find it difficult. Why are we talking about reparations in the first place?
What's the relevance?
What's the relevance of it? Yeah.
You see, I'm seeing people here that I'm familiar with, like Miss Steele,
Miss
Pamela Steele.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, Miss Benjamin, Nadia
Yes.
Benjamin. There are people here that I know.
Where are these books available? I mean, are they
I would like to
physically
get this one
available
today.
at our bookstore in Grand Anse?
Art and Soul would have had. I'm not sure if they have now.
This is one to
Women in
have.
Grenadian History. I actually have a few copies around for sale. in this
Perspectives
one.
of the
This one?
Grenada
This one.
Revolution.
Right.
Perspectives is online. It's
on
on Amazon.
Right.
Yep.
Well, of course, I mean,
Doc, I'm telling you now, you need to autograph one of this for me. I want one.
Okay, right. So
Yeah.
not
Because
a
I
problem.
think the women thing is particularly close to me, knowing my mom's background
Yeah.
and what happened and
Yeah.
how they operated
Yeah.
and where these women came from and made such
Yeah.
an impact. I
Yeah.
think that is something we need to
It's
know.
absolutely interesting, the speaking to women. There was these women that I spoke to on estates, and they said, listen, I didn't go to school,
That's right.
but I am sending my children because they understood education as a medium of advancement.
Yeah, and most of these women in that generation had 9 and 12 children.
Yes,
So they were juggling family, they were juggling work because they were working.
yes, they were
And they had
working
to take
women.
care of their husband and the children and
And if they
everything.
didn't work, they didn't get paid.
That's right.
That's
You know,
the other
it
thing.
is an interesting evolution of our
Yes.
women and what they did and the contribution to society as we know it.
Yes.
I think that is what is missing, and I'm happy to get a book on that and familiarize
No,
myself.
this is awesome.
Doc, I didn't know you're doing all this good work.
Yeah.
Find
Continuing,
more work for you to do.
continuing education. I mean, we don't have a lot of time left, but just going back to Yui here. Enrollment, male versus female, what are the numbers like, percentage-wise?
Oh boy, we're still on about 80%.
Depressing number.
Hold on, wait. What? 80% what?
And
Female.
this is UE generally.
Yes,
yeah?
UE I'm talking
Generally,
about.
not
80
just about 80%
80% female.
female. We're still there.
Chris, this is dangerous.
No,
It is dangerous.
It is.
It is
I mean,
This is alarming.
It is alarming.
And you know, the population is about even, male and female,
Yes.
in Grenada at least.
Yeah.
So the issue of female taking 80% of the educational opportunities and other opportunities against the men is a really...
And this is UE generally, and this is
Yeah,
not just
I know.
Grenada.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah. But
that's
this
right.
is the
Entire
thing.
Caribbean.
But this started a
But
war.
even our schools, yeah,
even in
the
the schools,
statistics say it's about the same.
is about the same
Yeah,
thing.
it's about
And
the
it's
same.
alarming. We noticed it in our, well, we see it in the degree programs. And just to say, we need to toot our own horn. We have 70 students graduating in 2 weeks' time
Yeah.
from UWI. 47 of them with first class honors. Yes,
Whoa,
yes. And we have to toot our horn.
awesome. Yeah,
Absolutely
this is
awesome.
clearly,
We have noticed
Congratulations,
though, in
yeah.
our short courses the same
yeah.
imbalance.
Mhm.
But what we did was change the courses that we were offering and try to get more of the gentlemen on board. And
I used to
have
lecture
s-
at UWI at one
and we
time,
have
yeah.
seen
Yeah, me too.
We
Yeah,
have
I
seen
was there
some- we have
too.
seen some changes.
On
Good.
time.
we have seen some changes
Yeah.
in getting more of the gentlemen onto our
Good.
courses. Yes.
Doc, look, my heart is beating very fast now, I can tell you. I'm worried about this, Chris. In other words, what's the future?
No,
Because
I don't know.
because there's cause for concern right here. In other words, is it part of the socialization? I mean, we know that I think it's in the late 40s percentage that is of our households that are headed by single women in Grenada. That's the stats. So we don't have the presence of the male. The socialization within the household, is it favoring the female? The discipline that comes with the chores in that relationship with mother, the feminization of the schools, we talked about it earlier on, female teachers. How do we
Shift.
I mean, is it something that, as an educator, that is taking up your time, that you're reflecting on it, to see
we
what are the
have
cause,
been,
what are the how we can
How we can fix it.
begin to shift
To
that,
shift it.
those balance, because you look at the future. I mean, Chris, I had a friend who her daughter was going to study law, I think, and you know what she told her? Don't leave university without a husband,
Because she's going to see trouble afterwards.
Afterwards, yeah. I mean, this is true. This is actually a fact. You see where it comes down, but Doc,
yes.
how? I mean, this is cause for concern.
It's cause for concern. I agree. It is
How are
cause
we
for concern.
addressing this?
I am of the view, though, that you would see careers adjusting, and hopefully that will in some way influence the men to get more involved. And I say this from the point of view that skills, learning skills, which is a thing most men are doing now. Women are there as well.
Yes.
But traditionally, most men were the plumbers and the bricklayers and so on and so on. But I am going to believe as technology influences those areas of our lives
Yes.
and it changes, there will be very little room for whether you're male or female to adapt.
Yeah.
And we are going to be forced, male, to rearrange their lives to fit in.
Yes.
Because I saw a quote recently that says, we're concerned that AI is going to take away jobs. The guy said, the person was writing said, no, it's not going to take away jobs. It's going to give jobs, but the people who don't get on board with AI.
That's where the problem is going to be. Exactly.
Chris, yeah, I agree. This is downstream, but right now our young male are heading to prison. They're in prison. They're dropping out of school. They're
Then all the bad things.
Exactly.
But
we have a problem.
We do.
That we need to address.
And sometimes I think about, you did mention female-headed households. It's not just Grenada. It's regional.
Yeah, it's
as
regional.
well.
That's correct. Yes.
But I think one of the things that has to happen is men stepping up to the plate. And I know I'm going to put pressure on you gentlemen, but basically for the parent who is a single parent mom and doesn't have any male influences, or positive male influences, as a community of men, I think that's where you need to step up to the plate and to start doing some I'm using the word adopting, but mentoring really of these young men, because they need something. They need to have the conversation from a male perspective, and they need to have role models of men, and it can't just be that. So how do they deal with conflict? Half of the problem of the prison, I would imagine, is just not knowing how to deal with conflict. So you fret me and I holler cutlass. Yes.
But
having that conversation as to how do you deal with conflict within the home, how do you deal with conflict at school, how do you deal with conflict on the road, how do you deal, and just having a male having that conversation with them as a positive influence.
I said on this program many times, in my generation, when we went to a fete, it was to see if you meet a nice young lady and you get a dance. If you get a dance, you're happy for the whole week. Now we go with things in my pocket to stab and cut and so on. It's a different perspective.
Yes.
And that you need to understand why that changed. What's the psychology behind it and so on. Same thing like gangs. Gangs only come about because they're looking for love.
Yes.
And some caring.
And some caring.
That's what it was. And once you provide that, the gangs disintegrate.
Yes.
We have to get to the root cause.
Now, we're running out of time. I want to really thank you very much for joining us. We have a lot more to talk about, particularly the education issue. As it affects male and female, I think this is a crucial issue. But again, congratulations on this excellent work. And I'm really encouraging all households to get a copy of this book. It's so many facts there, so much important things there that we all need to know.
King Jaja.
King Jaja. Viewers, I want to thank you for being there. And I want to thank Dwayne, Francisca, and Nikita Hostin, our technical personnel. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Chris. No.
Community Forum came to you in association with the Grenada Development Bank.
The choice to finance your education is clear. Try the Grenada Development Bank Won't You Dare. Our special student loan was designed with care for your growth, development, and welfare. This is how champions are made. Take on that challenge. Don't ever be afraid. Our special student loan will come to your aid with 100% of your study costs being paid. Vulnerability is but a temporary condition, and conquering it is strictly ambition. You can secure victory despite your position with a loan for accommodation, books, and tuition. We see your potential. We notice your drive. So on your marks, get set. Let your dreams come alive. Don't let hurdles of doubt get in your way, because you are the future. Contact GDB today. Our special student loan is just one application away. Grenada Development Bank. Development through financing.